The lawyer's voice was calm and professional on the phone. Ms. Rodriguez, I'm calling regarding the estate of Margaret Holloway. We've been trying to locate her next of kin for the past 8 months, and your DNA profile on Ancestry finally gave us a match. I'm sorry, who? Margaret Holloway. She passed away last year and left behind a considerable estate. According to DNA testing, she was your biological grandmother. You're her only living heir. I sat down slowly. I don't know anyone named Margaret Holloway. I understand this is confusing, but according to the DNA evidence and our investigation, you are entitled to inherit approximately $2.4 million. The room started spinning. My name is Carmen Rodriguez. I'm 46 years old. I live in San Diego, California, where I work as a nurse at a children's hospital. I've been a single mother for the past 12 years, raising my daughter Sophia on my own after my divorce. Money has always been tight. We live in a small apartment. I work extra shifts to cover Sophia's college fund. We're doing okay, but just barely. I was adopted at birth in 1977 in Houston, Texas. My adoptive parents, Maria and Carlos Rodriguez, were wonderful people. They raised me with love, gave me everything they could, but they both passed away years ago. Dad from a heart attack in 2008, Mom from Alzheimer's in 2019. I'd taken a DNA test in 2022, mostly out of curiosity, wanted to know my ethnic background, maybe find some distant cousins. I never expected to find close family. My results showed I was 65% Mexican, 20% Spanish, 15% Indigenous American. No surprise there. I looked at my DNA matches occasionally, but there was no one close. A few second and third cousins I didn't recognize. Nobody I felt compelled to contact. Until October 2023, when my phone rang with an unknown California number. The lawyer's name was Richard Stevens. He worked for an estate law firm in San Francisco. Ms. Rodriguez, can we schedule a time to discuss this in detail? I realize this must be overwhelming. You're telling me I inherited $2.4 million from someone I've never heard of? Essentially, yes, but there's more to the story. Would you be willing to come to San Francisco? All expenses paid, of course. I think it would be easier to explain everything in person. I flew to San Francisco the following week, using vacation days I'd been saving for months. Richard Stevens' office was in a high-rise downtown, sleek, expensive, the kind of place I'd never have reason to visit otherwise. He showed me into a conference room with a thick file folder on the table. Thank you for coming, Ms. Rodriguez. Let me explain the situation. He opened the folder and showed me a photo. An elderly white woman with silver hair and sharp blue eyes. This is Margaret Holloway. She passed away on January 15th, 2023, at age 87. She lived alone in Palo Alto for the past 30 years. No husband, no children, no close family. She left behind a substantial estate. A house worth $1.8 million, savings and investments totaling another $600,000. I stared at the photo. I don't recognize her. I didn't expect you would. Margaret had no idea you existed either. Then how am I her heir? Richard pulled out more documents. Margaret's younger sister, Elizabeth Holloway, had a daughter named Catherine in 1975. Catherine was unmarried, 18 years old, and gave the baby up for adoption. That baby was you. My heart stopped. Catherine Holloway was my birth mother? Yes, she died in a car accident in 1998. She was only 41. And Elizabeth, Margaret's sister? Also deceased, died in 2010, cancer. So Margaret was my great-aunt? Technically, yes, but in the absence of any closer relatives, she's classified as your grandmother for inheritance purposes. You're her closest living blood relative. I tried to process this. Why didn't she know about me? Richard sighed. According to our investigation, Catherine's adoption of you was closed, very closed. No information was shared with the family. Elizabeth and Margaret knew Catherine had been pregnant, but they believed she'd terminated. Catherine never told them she'd given the baby up for adoption. Why not? We don't know. Family dynamics, perhaps. Shame. Fear. It was 1977. Attitudes were different. Richard showed me more documents, photos, a letter. After Margaret died, we found this in her papers. It's addressed to whom it may concern. He handed me a handwritten letter. Margaret's handwriting was neat, precise. To the executor of my estate. I have no children, no husband, no close family. My sister Elizabeth died 13 years ago. Her daughter Catherine died 15 years before that. I am alone. If there is any family out there, any blood relatives I don't know about, please find them. Use DNA testing if necessary. Modern science can do things we never dreamed of when I was young. I want my estate to go to family, to someone with my blood, my heritage, my history. Please find them. Margaret Holloway. I started crying. Richard handed me tissues. Margaret explicitly requested that we use DNA testing to find relatives, so we created an ancestry DNA profile using her genetic material on file from a medical procedure. That's how we found you. She wanted to find me. She wanted to find anyone. You happened to be the one we found. Tell me about her. What was she like? Richard pulled out more documents. A life in paperwork. Margaret Holloway had been a professor of mathematics at Stanford for 40 years. Never married. Never had children. Dedicated her life to teaching and research. She'd been close with her sister, Elizabeth, devastated by Catherine's death, and had always wondered about Catherine's baby. She asked Elizabeth about you several times over the years, Richard said. Elizabeth always said you'd been terminated. Margaret believed her, but she wasn't sure. No, in her later years, Margaret became obsessed with genealogy, started researching family trees, started questioning Elizabeth's story. But Elizabeth died in 2010, and Margaret never found answers. Until now. Until now. The DNA test confirmed what Margaret suspected, that you existed, that you were out there somewhere, that Catherine had lied to protect you, or perhaps to protect herself. I looked at Margaret's photo again. This woman I'd never met. This brilliant mathematician who'd spent 40 years teaching, who'd saved her money, who'd died alone, wondering about family, and she'd left everything to me. What happens now? I asked Richard. Now you inherit the house, the money, everything. There's some paperwork, taxes to pay, legal processes to complete, but within 6 months it will all be yours. I don't know if I can accept this. Richard raised an eyebrow. Why not? Because I didn't earn it. I didn't know her. I didn't care for her when she was dying. I don't deserve this. She wanted you to have it. That's what deserving means. But I'm a stranger. Your family, that's what mattered to her. I flew home to San Diego and spent weeks thinking about it, talking to Sophia, talking to friends. Part of me felt guilty, like I was profiting from a woman's loneliness, like I didn't deserve wealth I hadn't worked for. But another part of me thought about Margaret's letter. Please find them. She'd wanted this. She'd wanted her legacy to go to family, even family she'd never met. And I thought about what this money could do for Sophia. College without loans, a real future. Opportunities I'd never been able to give her before. I accepted the inheritance in March 2024. The house in Palo Alto I sold immediately. It was too expensive to maintain, and I had no connection to the area. That money went into trust funds for Sophia and for future grandchildren I might have someday, but I kept one thing, Margaret's journals. She'd kept journals for 60 years, detailed accounts of her life, her research, her thoughts. I've been reading them slowly, getting to know this woman I never met, my great-aunt, my grandmother in inheritance, if not in blood. She was brilliant, funny, lonely, kind. She wrote about her students with love, about mathematics with passion, about her sister and niece with grief, and in her final entries, she wrote about wondering if Catherine's baby had survived, if there was family out there she didn't know about. I hope whoever finds this knows they were wanted. She wrote 3 months before she died. I hope they know that, even though I never met them, I thought about them. I wondered about them. I wanted them to have something better than what I had. I'm crying as I write this. Margaret gave me more than money. She gave me a history, a legacy, a connection to people I never knew but who shaped who I am. I've started a scholarship fund at Stanford in Margaret's name for first-generation college students studying mathematics. It seemed like something she would have wanted. Sophia starts college next year. Thanks to Margaret, she won't have debt. She won't have to work 3 jobs like I did. And when Sophia has children someday, I'll tell them about their great-great-great Aunt Margaret, the brilliant mathematician who died alone but left behind love anyway. Family is more than who raises you. It's more than who you know. Sometimes family is someone who thought about you from afar and made sure you'd be okay. Have you inherited from an unknown relative? Have you discovered family through DNA testing? Share your story in the comments. Subscribe for more true stories about DNA discoveries, unexpected inheritances, and the power of family. New stories every week. Thanks for listening.